Thank you everybody for joining us today. Will and I are going to go through the critical importance of payroll accuracy for staffing firms. So my name is Jerica Holton, and a little bit about me. I'm the payroll product marketing manager here at Green Shades. I have a background in retail management and some HCM training. And also a random fact about me, I own a Shiba Inu named Fuji, and he's my whole world.
Hey everyone, Will with Green Shades here. I am on the sales team, been here with Green Shades coming up on 8 years. And right now I'm primarily focused on the staffing industry. So I'm sure you've seen my emails or phone calls come across your desk.
Awesome, thanks, Will. So for today's agenda, we'll go over some payroll accuracy items such as the impacts and best practices. You can leverage technology to help with payroll accuracy. So to kick things off, we're going to go through understanding what is payroll accuracy. So I'm going to get into a few of these, and just like you guys, correct wage calculations is the one that we see most common, and the first one we have listed on the screen. So when you talk about payroll accuracy, it can fall into a lot of different buckets. So one of those things being correct wage calculations. As we know, as your organization gets more complex, and every organization has their own unique payroll needs, wage calculations can get really tricky. So automating these processes really helps if you're issuing, let's say, bonuses. Maybe you're paying employees by piecework. Maybe you're issuing commission, different things that can be going on in the background. Automating these processes can really be helpful. One thing we really see going on with correct wage calculations is issues with overtime payments. And of course, some of those compliance issues and any like complex work calculations you have going on. Next is timely payments. So for staffing industries, these can fall into two different buckets for you guys. Timely payments for your clients or timely payments for your employees. As we know, in today's rough economic conditions, nobody wants to miss a paycheck. I don't want to miss a paycheck. I'm pretty sure, Will, you don't want to miss a paycheck.
So I don't want to miss one either, Jerica.
No, missing paychecks, missed bills, missed meals, and my dog Fuji will be looking at me sideways if I don't have his treats ready for him. So we have to make sure that we're getting those employees paid on time. And what we see a lot of issues when it's coming into timely payments is maybe a switch in systems. I know for myself, when I was working in retail, as we switch workplace systems, there's a lot of issues with getting people paid, myself included. We also see that maybe there's something incorrect set up in the back end. So maybe your employees have incorrect direct deposit information set up. Maybe they didn't set it up at all. Maybe they have a paper check coming, so it's coming a little bit later. So we see a lot of different things happen on that end. Next, compliance with workplace laws. So compliance can be such a complex topic. As you know, minimum wage laws are always changing. I mean, we had Washington, D.C., with minimum wage at $17, Washington State with the highest minimum wage. And then depending on the state, like states like California, they account for tipped employees that also have a minimum wage balance. So as you go into compliance, it can get really complex, especially for staffing industries that have employees working across multiple jurisdictions. And then you also have to keep an eye on minimum wage laws and garnishments, right? Garnishments. If you have employees with a lot of garnishments attached to them, it can get difficult to make sure they're deducted properly and that employees are paid at the proper minimum wage by compliance standards. And then lastly, record keeping. By law, you got to keep payroll records for up to 4 years. If you're using kind of that on-premise or Excel kind of paper layout for doing your payroll processing, it can be hard to keep track of all those records.
Yep, Jerica, I just want to add, working with staffing clients all the time, I'd say compliance with workplace laws is the biggest thing that keeps people up at night, as employees move in and out, different jurisdictions, new laws popping up here and there. It's almost a full-time job to keep up with that information.
It is, and it gets like really tricky because even in certain states like New York, the minimum wage is different based off of like what county you're in. So it can get really particular even within the same state.
It's like a game of staffing Jenga.
Exactly. What piece goes where, what compliance laws apply to which employee. So then for the staffing industry, we also see issues with the complex pay schedules, something else that makes payroll very complex. So you may be paying your employees weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, annually. So for all these different payroll schedules, you'll have different payroll workflows. Maybe you have admins who don't understand which ones that they need to fall under. Maybe you're managing multiple EINs. One thing we see a lot of payroll admins doing to kind of combat this is by associating their employees with different pay schedules and issuing limited payroll admins so admins know which pay schedule they're in charge of, kind of keeping track of all these different payments and making sure that you're having those timely payments. And then next thing we see, each client may have unique requirements for calculating wage. So back to the poll, we see that calculating wages still remains a top concern for payroll accuracy because it can get really complex. Let's say you have employees who are working overtime and you're also offering shift differentials. Trying to calculate the overtime payments with that shift differential added on can be a whole headache in itself. And maybe that's for 5 employees. What if you have 250? Right? So we know things get really complex when it comes to calculating wages. One thing we see a lot of people have success with is just setting up these payroll codes in the back end so you can easily apply them during a payroll process, make it a little bit easier to manage all these different payroll structures you may have going on.
Yep. Another complexity around pay schedules is when you have those situations where an employee may be working, for multiple clients within the same pay period and be included in different payroll batches. So, if they have garnishments, making sure that's calculated correctly, or deductions, being paid in multiple pay batches within the same pay frequency, having the system in place to really simplify that, it's gonna help you a lot in the long run. And quite frankly, a lot of systems out there can't do that today.
Well, that's a great call out, having workers who are working for different clients and different pay schedules, trying to make sure they're accurately applied to each one and their payroll calculations are done accurately. I can definitely see that being something complex for the staffing industry. And we kind of talked about this a little bit before, but of course, keeping compliance with multi-jurisdictional payroll. As we know, for staffing organizations, you have employees working across a lot of multiple jurisdictions. And as you go across jurisdictions, payroll can get really complex when it comes to these laws. So, like, for example, in Alabama, they just issued a law that exempts overtime wages from taxation. We had a client who was using an outdated system who wasn't keeping up with this. So they were manually adjusting their tax tables for everybody in Alabama. So it can get a little complex in the back end if you don't have a provider that's keeping up with these location specific laws. And then on top of that, the withholdings, the tax withholdings. Things can get really complex as you get into states like Ohio. They may have local tax withholdings. So not only are you worrying about federal and state, now you have this third thing to take into consideration, which is their location. So when you're collecting these timesheets, it can be really helpful to have those locations tied to those employees. So when you're going into your payroll, the appropriate rates are coming out for those associates. And then lastly, let's talk about the high impact of turnover in the staffing industry, the impact it can have on your payroll. So first, data entry challenges. As you're hiring and rehiring associates into the system, it can get really complex to keep up with all that information, making sure they have the correct title now, make sure they're in the correct department, they're receiving a different wage, making sure all that is lined up. Employee now, Dan, you passed it over to me.
I'm
now
sorry.
over my words.
It's contagious.
So next, employee misclassification. There we go. So with rapid turnover, when you're hiring these employees back into the system, you want to make sure you're classifying them correctly, whether they're hourly, salary, part-time, full-time, contract. You want to make sure that they're classified correctly. We see a lot of issues of misclassification when it comes to full-time workers versus contract workers, which can, of course, lead to taxation issues. And when it comes to year end, what year and form are they receiving? A W-2 versus a 1099. There's a popular case going on now with a famous star whose photographer is upset because now year end are paying all these taxes and they found out they were misclassified. Time tracking difficulties. This can come from collecting timesheets from missing timesheets, buddy punches. We see people who will punch the system for their friends so they can make sure that they look on time to work or account for their hours. There could be missing time. So maybe employees did not account for a meeting they went to. Maybe employees didn't account for remote work or travel commute time. So just making sure that you're getting in all those hours. Over and underpayments, as you have all these like turnover, all these employees coming in, the chance of pay discrepancies goes up tremendously as your admins are working overtime to onboard and offboard and get materials to employees. So you just want to make sure that you're paying attention to those payments. And when employees are leaving your organization, making sure you're paying them on time with their termination pay. Around laws, there is a certain time frame that they do need to receive those checks. And then lastly, just the changes in payroll can have a big impact when it comes to turnover for staffing firms.
I think everybody in this call can relate to the last point, increased pressure on the payroll staff.
Yes, that increased pressure, like literally, as I talked about before, onboarding employees, worrying about ATS and trying to recruit and attract new talent. It can be really complex, especially in today's workforce, as we see unemployment's at a 4% right now, right? So we have a lot of people who are out in the workforce and a lot of jobs that are being posted. We see the market is on an upturn, so a lot of people are coming in. So as you're hiring and rehiring employees, it takes a lot of time. So when you're going to process payroll, it may be a more swift process. That's where having a provider really comes in to help you streamline that process for you and make it a lot quicker.
Awesome. Well, Jerica, thank you for taking us through the first section there on just understanding what payroll accuracy is. And now we're going to turn things over to Will, who's going to now let us know the impact of payroll accuracy on staffing firms. So Will, it's up to you, sir.
Yep. So let's talk about what all of this really means to you. It can affect the organization as a whole in many different ways. Some listed here. The first, could hurt your pockets. So there's certain, laws, requirements around tax deposit payments, paying employees timely, where if your payroll system is being inaccurate, you're not able to accomplish that, Uncle Sam's going to come a knocking. So no one wants to get a tax penalty notice or, a possible lawsuit from an employee around payroll information. So that's a big one. And, could also increase to further audits by the IRS where they may see smoke, they may think there's fire. So having a system in place to make, your risk aspect can be critical. And then, of course, reputational damages. So both employee dissatisfaction as well as with the clients you serve. If word gets to clients or prospective clients that, the employees that are working for them, payroll's not being put out timely, or again, you're under constant audits or tax penalties, that can hurt your ability to retain the clients you have as well as go and seek others. And then on the flip side, employee dissatisfaction, that could spread through wildfire. One popular vocal employee may have an issue with their paycheck, and can spread the word around town to, prospective employees you may be looking for as well as the current base. And then all of this goes, kind of downhill into those operational disruptions. So it's going to put more pressure on your payroll team to require more work, more post-pay run adjustments, more payroll batches. It's going to lead to increased overhead in the payroll department as well as their dissatisfaction.
Well, I love this stat on the side. 49% of employees search for a new job due to incorrect paychecks. Because as I mentioned earlier, when our employers switched payroll providers, my check was incorrect. Then after that, there was a missed time sheet. My check was incorrect. And now I'm at Green Shades. Yay.
I'm wondering who the other 51% of employees who aren't.
Hey, don't worry about getting my paycheck right. I'm okay.
Yeah, so I think the poll aligned exactly with what this slide is presenting. Winning new clients is everyone's top goal here within 2024. And you may not think about it, but payroll can be an important part of your plan to accomplish that. Having that payroll system that allows you to scale in different territories is going to be crucial. It's going to decrease the amount of downtime you have to research, tax code logic, entering, tax rate information, making sure the correct taxes are being applied to the employees within your solution. So having a payroll system that easily allows you to scale into new scary jurisdictions whenever you'd like is really going to help you accomplish that deal. It's also going to bring, again, high employee satisfaction, who can help you, get through word of mouth or referrals, bringing in the new employees to work in these new clients' jurisdictions. It's going to help you stand out to your clients. They're going to have peace of mind that, you're able to continuously support them, build on the emerging relationship you're having. And also going to allow you to do future planning, knowing that, your base is already covered. You can kind of look out to the market and see where you may be able to fit in and win some of those new clients.
Well, one thing I will say too, when it comes to payroll, processing it efficiently, automating a lot of those processes gives you a lot of time to focus on some of these other goals too.
Mhm.
It's a great strategy. Payroll accuracy is a great strategy, but I also think payroll automation and just saving that time on the back end will give you a lot of time to kind of focus on these strategic goals for 2024.
Yeah, definitely allows you to kind of go out and widen your client search. Whether you have some clients that want to go bi-weekly, weekly, earn wage access, same day pay. Just having a system that can support any of their needs in a given time is really going to make you stand out based on some competitors.
First of all, thank you, Will, for telling us about that impact of payroll accuracy for staffing firms. Jerica now is going to let us know what are some of the best practices that you as a staffing firm can, draw on to really help things moving along. So, Jerica, take it away.
Thank you, Dan. So first, we're going to talk about how you can increase your payroll accuracy through thorough planning and correct setup. So first, choosing the right payroll solution for you. So evaluate your organization's unique needs, whether that's payroll, what ERP systems you're working with, what supporting technology systems you're working with, and finding a payroll solution that works for your organization and with your existing technologies. So if you know you have complex pay schedules, if you know you need the flexibility to issue payments on your own terms, if you want more control over your banking and employee information, then maybe in-house provider like Green Shades is good for you. If you know you don't need some of those things, and maybe an outsourced provider is better for your organization. So really sitting down and evaluating your unique needs and choosing a solution that really fits and tailors to you. Next, establishing clear payroll policies. So this goes for your employees as well as your internal staff. So I talked a little bit about setting up multiple EINs and setting up delimited payroll admins. So you're making sure that each admin is really taking care of their payroll functions and they understand what goes into their set of payroll batches. So whether that's understanding the unique payments, setting up things in the back end to make things easier for their team, and communicating those things to the employees under them. So making sure their employees understand, hey, when am I getting paid? How am I getting paid? How will I receive my check? And as Will talked about, earn wage access, same day pay, what options are available to those employees? So making sure they understand those payroll policies. Configuring payroll to suit your needs. As I talked about before with in-house solutions, it does provide you a lot of flexibility to set things up to suit your unique needs. So if you had these unique payments, if you need these multiple pay schedules, if you have multiple clients, if you're doing reporting in your ERP system, you need to tie it to specific general ledgers, just making sure that you're configuring everything up in the back end. So when you go to process payroll, it's a swift process. Mapping custom fields for cost accounting. As I mentioned before, if you need to do some reporting down in your GL, you want to make sure you're tying that labor to the appropriate client or the project or the location or whatever unique field for your organization. Again, configuring those fields to fit your organization's unique needs. And then integrating with your supporting systems. So as you're thinking about payroll accuracy, hey, does it integrate with my ATS system, with my ERP system? So I'm reducing that error of duplicate entry. I'm making sure everything transfers over seamlessly and each system is speaking to each other. So diving a little bit more into that open communication about payroll. So during onboarding, establish those clear communications. When your employees are coming into the system, make sure that they understand their compensation structure, pay frequency, methods of payments, and maybe collect these signatures on those documents just to make sure that they understand it. And then again, delegating those payroll tasks to the correct managers, making sure they understand their tasks, what payroll batches they're over, and having that flexibility to set things up in the back end for themselves to make the payroll processing easier. And then providing employees with access to their pay stubs. So if they have questions, you can save your admins a lot of time by giving them access to their pay stubs. And let's say you do have employees who are working across multiple jurisdictions, they can have access to their pay stub information, tax information, update their W-4s remotely without having to reach out to the managerial staff.
Yeah, I'd say communication about payroll. A lot of people don't think about that. But here at Green Shades, we are constantly getting calls in our support line from employees, questions about their pay stub or W-2. So something we're really able to help them. It's always surprises me, how many employees out there don't really understand what they're receiving.
Yes. And the good thing about the employee self-service portal, now that it's so easy to navigate, everything is really reader friendly. Even some of those government forms, it helps them navigate a lot better. But you do still see the gaps where people are asking questions and still, needing a little bit training. So just letting employees know that is there for them, they have access to it, and showing them how to really navigate around that system will save you a lot of headache in the long run. And so then next, making sure if you do run into any payroll discrepancies, that you're taking care of those items in real time. So during the payroll process, if you do make adjustments, you can see them in real time. But let's say you're not able to make those adjustments. When payroll is concluded, go ahead and identify and rectify those errors immediately. When in-house solutions, you do have the flexibility to issue off-cycle payments, termination pay on your terms without reaching out to your provider. So it's really quick to get those payments out to your employees. So just making sure that you're issuing those payments as soon as you see something arises. Then as well as notifying the right agencies. Sometimes it may involve contacting a government agency, but making sure you do it and as soon as you notice it. To Will's point, you do not want Uncle Sam knocking at your door come year end because there's a mistake from February 10 months ago. And then also just keeping those detailed records, just in case there's any concerns from either government agencies or employees, you can go back, identify the issue, rectify it if there is one, or answer any inquiries if employees have questions. Just have the detailed records to provide them with clear insights to why their compensation is the way it is.
Yeah, Jerk, I'd say this is a huge one in the staffing world. I see a lot, particularly when we're talking about those outsourced providers like ADP, Paycom. They're not really geared towards the staffing industry. A lot is because of this. Being able to control your processes and fix the errors and not have to rely on a third party, support team, I think is really valuable in the staffing world. With Green Shades, you're able to make any rollbacks, post payroll adjustments. You can run a pay run, right away to correct it and not incur, additional fee for that pay run. And I think is really advantageous to the staffing world.
Well, I think that's a great point because what we see a lot of outsourced providers doing is charging for these extra pay runs. And so if you do run into a payroll discrepancy and now you also have to pay for an extra pay run and you also waited on the phone, waiting for support, waiting to get in contact with somebody, you're spending physical money and you're spending time. It can get really costly really quick.
All right. Well, Jerica, thank you for taking us through that segment on best practices for keeping Uncle Sam knocking on your door. Unless, of course, you have a uncle named Sam, in which case you might want to answer the door for him. But now we're going to turn things now looking at technology because, let's be honest, we no longer live in the days of typewriters and phones made out of tin cans and a string, right? We have technology at our disposal. So what can we do to leverage that technology? And Will is going to take us through this fascinating segment. Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, absolutely. So really what you want to do is set it up correctly the first time. I'm not going to say you can kind of take your foot off the gas pedal and go from there, but setting up your payroll structure in a way that makes sense to your business, really gonna kind of, erase some of the headaches and some of the complexity there. So with Green Shades here, we have an easy step-by-step wizard that takes you through the whole payroll process. Depending on the volume of changes, you can run it in a matter of minutes. So some things here to think about is location-based tax withholdings. Now we've referenced, how complex taxes can be throughout this webinar here, but having a system that's able to read your data, read where employees work, where they live, and making sure the correct tax withholdings, as well as the correct tax rates, is going to be really important, as you go to look to win new business, new territories, get employees from possibly out of state. Having that system that can easily identify the correct taxes, is going to make you sleep a whole lot better at night. And then the ability to set up your pay batches, pay runs, whenever you'd like. Again, referencing like the outsourced providers, they may only let you run payroll on Wednesday, which means time has to be in Tuesday, can really kind of hurt your overall efficiency. So having a system in place where you can set up your payroll batches by client or branches or states, making sure employees can easily be assigned to those, and then having the calculations done in a matter of minutes so you can process them all on your time is really going to be an advantageous step for you. And of course, getting that information easily into your general ledger so that you have a kind of a full financial picture is also going to be great.
Yeah, yeah. To your point, Will, having wizardly automation is like having Gandalf run your payroll, so
Hmm.
definitely a huge benefit.
Yep.
And well, like honestly, I think a lot of the points that you talk to is really about setting payroll up in the back end, setting it up early on.
Mhm.
So once you get to running payroll, to your point, you don't have to take your foot off the brake, but it's quick and efficient and still accurate. You're not sacrificing accuracy for efficient payroll processing.
Hmm. And then another way you can leverage technology, really around employee self-service. GreenShade's been around for 20 plus years and providing self-service options the whole time. But really seen it, especially during the pandemic, really take off. Having information available online to your employees is going to help one, the employee, it's going to give them access to the information they need. It's also going to help you on the back end, not having to spend your time tracking down pay stubs, entering employee W-4 adjustments, or whatever the case would be. We really seen a strong adaptation, especially in the staffing world since COVID hit and, everything kind of went online. Leveraging employee self-service is going to save a lot of time, a lot of money for you, allow you to focus on, again, other areas of your business, instead of just the payroll processes or data collection, data entry.
I love this point about updating the W-4 form because I think it goes a lot back to the compliance issues. And once it comes to determining that taxation for employees, they want to make sure they're updating it every year. If you have any life changes, they need to be updating those W-4 forms. So I think that's a really good call out.
And then, payroll's important. We think it's, the most important thing, but understand that in today's day and age, people aren't really going for the all-in-one solution so much anymore. They're really seeing a high adoption of best in breed. So they want the best applicant tracking system, the best onboarding, the best ERP, best payroll software. So having a solution that can, speaking specifically to payroll, accomplish that, but also have it be able to plug and play and just make that data transition of information easy for you. So whether that's through REST APIs, which GreenShades offers, integrations into ATS or timekeeping solutions, back office information being pulled into your ERP, you're really going to be on the lookout for a solution that, one fits your needs, but two fits and plays with the other ecosystem of technology you've built upon.
I think this is a great point. It's almost like you don't want what do they call it? The tossed salad. You want like the melting pot.
Mm-hmm.
So where everything emerges together, everything works together instead of all these random technologies just sitting in a bowl that have no connection to each other. They're
Yep.
not speaking to each other.
Typing the same thing in three different systems over and over. This is definitely not going to be fun for anyone. So, developing and having sure that they all communicate with each other is really, again, going to help you to that overall goal of winning new business. Where you're going to be strong, where you're going to be weak, and all the systems are, just reading data off each other.
Yeah, I think a great example is even how like GreenShades, how we work with like Bullhorn, how you're able to pull in like applicant system or applicant information into this solution to run payroll. And it's simple, it's easier, not doing all this duplicate entry or going back and forth.
Yeah, definitely having your payroll system integrated with that ATS or timekeeping solution is really great. So then some key takeaways here we want to, leave you with, evaluate your needs, think specific to your organization, and if you need help with that, please, there's plenty of resources available online or reach out to us. We'd help to, love to speak to you with that. Initiate best practices. Again, a lot of information out there available, a lot of very seasoned people in the staffing industry you can rely on to get that information. And then utilize that technology. Even if you've gone out and purchased the technology, make sure you're keeping up to date with, updates and new features or, what's best practices and leveraging that technology to, really make your life easier. That's what it's there for. And just quickly talk about GreenShades. Hopefully all of you know us here, but we've been around for 20 plus years in the payroll HR space. Today, currently helping over 700 staffing firms, related to payroll, tax and compliance, employee self-service, and year-end form distribution. Jarek and I all just talked about, the pain points we see with the staffing industry. And, that sentiment echoed throughout the whole organization. So we've really developed our payroll solution to be geared towards staffing. We know the hurdles and pain points you experience and have really kind of made this feature rich to just easily process payroll and scale. We're kind of aligned with helping you win that goal of winning new clients.
Well, I think that's a great point. That in-house solution really provides a lot of flexibility that a
That
lot of
it does.
outsourced providers do not. It's a lot of outsourced providers are very out of the box solutions where you see in-house is really configurable and really flexible
Mhm.
to payroll industries when it comes to processing payroll, different schedules, issuing off-cycle checks, complex payroll needs, cost
Earn,
accounting, dimensional accounting.
mhm.
Yeah.
Earned wage access, same day pay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many different things that go into payroll for staffing firms that, a lot of the bigger solutions just aren't focused on or want that business. That's something here at Green Jades. We definitely pride ourselves in listening to our customer base and building to help them the most.
Yeah, building an agile solution.
So
Oh.
there's all of our contact information here. So feel free to reach out, whether it's early in your evaluation or you're knee deep in the search for a new payroll solution. We would love to talk to you whenever you're ready.
And I want to thank all of you for, taking some time out of your day to spend with us as we looked at today's webinar topic. Thank you again for being here. Have a fantastic rest of your day.